One of the jokes of our industry is that the account management group has a lot of different names: account management, client service, suits, it kind of goes down from there. We spend a lot of time and money testing messages and positioning for client brands because we know that teeny tiny tweaks can make a big difference. I do not believe that the words account management or client service are sending the right message. If we want and need leadership, that's what we need to call the discipline.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Lori Bartle, founder of Cultivagency. Lori, how are you today?
I'm doing great. So great. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
My distinct pleasure. I appreciate you spending some time with us on Business Ninjas. I have to say right out of the gate, I love the name of your business.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's short for Cultivating Human Agency. And a lot of people ask me, what's in the name? But I got onto that idea kind of early as I was thinking about going out on my own. And here, it's kind of come full circle with the concept of the book, but we'll get into that. But thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and about the origin story for Cultivagency.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I'm a marketer through and through. It's been over 30 years, I think now, that I've been involved in this crazy part of the business world. I've spent time on really all sides of the desk. I started in media sales, and from there got my first agency job in the media department. I had the opportunity to work in-house a couple of times on the client side, which was excellent experience. But the bulk of my career has been on the agency side and primarily in client leadership and ultimately agency leadership. But I really credit my success to that variety of experiences and perspectives that I have had. And I do really feel fortunate to have had all those unique opportunities that I have been able to learn from and draw upon in my work. So Cultivagency, as I said, is a consultancy that I will say I started to think about probably 3 or 4 years ago and finally pulled the trigger early in 2023. And once I got onto the idea, I became obsessed with it. My focus is on the account or client discipline within an agency. And, these are the people, these are our front line, right? I mean, they're the ones that are the day-to-day contact with our clients. And so it's really essential that they have the chops to be a true partner with their clients. And that's what we need is partnership, because we're fighting against becoming a vendor to these clients. So it's an essential role that, in my humble opinion, has not gotten enough love in the last decade or so. And so my mission really is to help teams elevate their mindset as well as their skill sets so that we can better partner with our clients and our and enhance the client agency relationship, which is something else that needs a lot of help these days. So that's it in a nutshell.
Gotcha. And what verticals are you servicing at Cultivagency?
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm working with certainly fully integrated agencies. I've got a couple of digital-only agencies, which is interesting because they tend to be new to the concept of client leadership because they tended to be more oriented around project management, and they're really seeing the opportunity and the growth that can come from empowering a true client leadership discipline. I've got a creative only agency, so I'm dabbling in most of the sectors. I don't have a media only client at this moment, but I'm hopeful because I think that that would really be interesting and impactful for a media only agency to be thinking about this as well. So it's going pretty well.
Excellent. Is there an age component to that conversation? Meaning, are the digital only media firms maybe younger folks who don't have the experience in client relationships and the things you're talking about?
It it's possible. I mean, yes, I will say for those of us that have been in the industry for, I'll say 15 years or longer, we have experience and probably, firsthand experience with an account discipline that truly was a strategic asset and truly was helping to grow, the client's business and the agency's business. And I think if you've gotten into the business, in the last 10 to 15 years, it's possible, that, like I said, project management has been coming up in terms of its prevalence. They're not the same thing, even though unfortunately those lines have become blurred. They shouldn't have become blurred. They're not at all similar. And so I think there are a lot of people that are just starting to understand that difference, and I think are now, very much needing to exercise that muscle, if you will.
Gotcha. And aside from shedding light on the disparity between project management and, nurturing those human relationships, what are the most common problems you're solving for your clients?
It starts with a business focus, Andrew. The account discipline has gotten away from its business savvy that it really historically is known for. And we did that as an industry to this group. We did it coming out of the Great Recession when we cut the depth charts. We abolished training. There hasn't been any training, and we piled business on because we're all living under this do more with less mandate. And that means we piled clients on these teams, and they became not by their, not by their choice, but doers without the time and the space to be thinkers. And so, now we've got to go back and train everybody to think business first. And that's really that's my first priority. That's what I think is their point of difference within the agency. It's the industry has tried to make this group into generalists, and that's fine. I understand the functional need for that, but you still need to have a specialty, right? That's how you drive value. And I believe that there is nobody else in the agency better equipped to be a specialist in their client's business. Strategy can't do that. They have too many clients to do that, right? So the account team really needs to be the ones that are 100% fully immersed and knowledgeable about the business, the category, and those competitors, like those three things. And that in and of itself is a completely different focus than where we have them focused now, which is which is some combination of executional and financial doing. I'll call it doing. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of ironic, right? We've developed these tools that help people be more efficient and more effective, but because of the awareness of those tools, now there's an unreal expectation of output per person that's sort of demanded. Like everybody's now wearing 5 or 10 hats, doing the job of far more than one person. Oh, you don't need an assistant, you have AI and things like that. And the time and bandwidth to nurture these relationships seems to be disappearing. So it's a double-edged sword.
The clients don't help. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but they want, everything to be done fast. And you need somebody that has the presence of mind to say time out. You know what I mean? Like there's a time and a place to move quickly, and there are times when we have to be able to say we've got to slow this train down and take a breath because what you're saying, I've got a lot of questions. Right? The team is going to have a lot of questions. So let's really try to break this down, peel that onion. And oftentimes, a client in their hurry, and desire to be prescriptive doesn't actually know what the real problem is, right? They think they do, but a little bit of time and energy can lead to a completely different problem to be solved. And that's what I want to try to create is folks with the confidence to know when to say when, right? When to slow down, and when they can, they can rise, meet that hurry up deadline.
What's the big differentiator for Cultivagency? What makes you stand out in today's market?
Well, honestly, there are very few resources for the account discipline. There is not even an annual event that's really exclusively for this discipline. And believe me, that's a 2025 initiative for me. I think that's nutty, I mean, when you think about the creative discipline, the media team, strategy, they all have tons of resources and certainly probably multiple events that they can go to that are specifically geared to inspire them and build camaraderie and community. To my knowledge, there's really nothing like that exclusively for the account group. So, I'm here to, as I said, give the discipline some love, bring some attention back to it and remind leaders of what's possible. Because again, I think we have amnesia. I think that we have forgotten what a truly empowered and well-developed group can do and the value they can drive within an agency. Because I liken it to a sleeping giant, Andrew. We just have to wake it up and, like I said, give it some love, and it can be a game changer.
Again, it's ironic. You're a group of people who are tasked with nurturing relationships, and yet you don't have the mechanism to nurture your own group of people and the way you go about what you do. That's kind of odd to me that you don't have conferences and your periodicals and yearly meetups and things like that.
I know.
It's funny. All right, switch gears a little bit. What role has content played in the growth of Cultivagency?
Well, it's good that I like to write. And I have a book that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, but I have for years dabbled in writing, and so it is a muscle that I enjoy flexing. The challenge is, of course, when you get business. I mean, for me, that became the quick challenge. Was I immediately did have some agency partnerships and relationships. And so my big plans, and I had a long list of ideas and content topics that I was going to write about. And for the first, 6 or 8 months, I feel like I had myself on a nice cadence, but it's really tailed off. And that is just a function of, like everybody else, right? Not enough hours in the day. And then, of course, I got busy writing a book, which kind of trumped my content creation. And it's now definitely there's a void that needs to be backfilled, Andrew. So I'm excited to get started with your organization and your team. And I certainly understand, its role in the ecosystem. And I'm excited about trying your methodology and creating some outcomes that I probably couldn't have created on my own.
Excellent. We're excited to get started with you too. So the book is called The Agency Within Us. Tell us a little bit about that project.
Yeah. So before I got into the book and as I was beginning in this consultancy role, I started by doing research. I wanted to have some data, to back up my hypothesis about what was going on with this group of people. And so I read everything that I could get my hands on, which, to my earlier point, is not a lot. There's not a lot out there. And yet, I think I uncovered what is out there, but I wasn't fully satiated. And so I did some of my own research as well, in addition to talking. I must have talked with, probably 50 to 75 agency leaders. And one of the key themes that came through loud and clear, both through what I would describe as qualitative conversations and my quant study, was an expressed desire and need for more proactivity, more initiative from account and client managers, and ultimately leadership, right? Like that's what we want and need. And I think that's where this topic and really what I discovered along the way becomes relevant not just within the advertising world, but within the broader business spectrum for any industry where proactivity and initiative are valued, which, may not be, I don't know, I can't speak for all industries, but it stands to reason that in organizations where you have high autonomy, right, dynamic conditions, complex tasks and problem solving, those are the kinds of industries where initiative and proactivity, really can make a difference. And so I started to read up and study about proactivity as a behavioral concept. And it doesn't take very long to find out about human agency, where, proactivity, things like proactivity, forethought, right, intentionality, these things are baked into the concept of human agency. But here's the insight that I found that was so great. Human agency and leadership are linked. The person that is, leaders are highly likely to have a highly developed sense of agency. And conversely, if you have a highly developed sense of agency, you're more likely to take on leadership challenges. And so, this was great because we don't, I don't know, you tell me. It's a concept that I hadn't really heard a lot about. If you get onto LinkedIn every day, you can see 5 posts about, leadership programs and webinars designed to help us all figure out how we can become better leaders. And I don't feel like I have ever seen anybody thinking about it through the lens of highly developed human agency. And then, of course, if you work in an agency, you have the unique dynamic of agency within an agency, and it just kind of, it grows from there. So it's kind of a side or back door into the leadership mentality and mindset, which is wonderful because leadership as a prospect is intimidating. So the book is actually written like a strategic plan. I did my research. I'm looking at account management as if it is a client's mature brand that is languishing. And my idea was, we can be more objective and strategic in evaluating the effectiveness of our team if we were to look at it through the lens of a client, right? And if once we find out really what's going on with it, then we know exactly how to attack it. And one of my foundational ideas is to start with how we position it, which I think is what we call it. And one of the jokes of our industry is that the account management group has a lot of different names, one of which is account management, client service, suits, it kind of goes down from there.
Yep.
And I think that has done our discipline a disservice. We spend a lot of time and money testing messages and positioning for client brands because we know that teeny tiny tweaks can make a big difference. And so I do not believe that the words account management or client service are sending the right message. If we want and need leadership, that's what we need to call the discipline, whether it's client leadership, business leadership, account leadership, it doesn't matter. But let's make our North Star leadership, because then that opens the door, if you will, to a different focus that, again, separates us from project management, which is all about the management of things, right? We need to have our eye on where we're going with this business, right? Whether that's 6 months out, 2 years out, 5 years out, that's what it's all about. So, we start with that. And then we look at what the job description looks like. What are the goals that we're giving these teams? It opens up the door to just reinvent this discipline with a higher order North Star that I think will carry us a lot farther than management or service. So that's a little bit behind the curtain.
I assume that post-COVID, this problem is even more polarizing than it used to be. People are, yes, we're returning to in-person meetings to a degree, and some companies are mandating that sort of return. But I think people are starving for human connection. And I think it's probably an even more important time to nurture the human component in business relationships than ever. Have you seen that sort of shift?
I have, and it's interesting because in some instances, Andrew, the agencies are back and wanting, even to be in the same room with clients. We can all function over Zoom. We've all done business over the phone for, 100 years, and it's okay. But I do think that being in the same room, knowing when you have to get on the airplane and go see your client, let's put it that way, right? We can get along via electronic communications to a point, but you better know when it's time to get on the airplane or get in your car and go see your client until it's too late, right? I think that it's going to happen slowly but surely. I will say that digging into your clients' businesses is a lot easier when it's top of mind to get out in the real world, right? Like when you're working on a client, when was the last time that you experienced, right? Ate, drank, visited, whatever it is, the real deal, you know? There's only so much that you can get out of a creative brief, even the best creative brief in the whole wide world. I think it's weird that it's not top of mind for us to actually get real life experience with these things. And it's coming back around. But I think that's something that a great effective client person can do is, create those moments, right? Create the moments not only with your clients to build authentic relationships. And by the way, not talk about business, right? Get to know each other as humans. There's plenty of time to talk about business, but also, get people together in real life to experience whatever it is, the client's product or service that you're working on. And that takes money and it takes time, but it's important. And that's one of the things that a good client person thinks about.
I guess we've got to learn to read the Zoom so we know when we have to get on a plane and go read the room, right? I mean,
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
energetic. It truly is.
Exactly. Right.
Look down the road a year from now. What are some things you'd like to be celebrating personally and professionally?
Well, I would like to think that I have been able to find a partner or two and to introduce an event of some kind. And I hesitate to call it a conference because I don't know if that's what's needed. Some sort of an event that brings people together and inspires them. The word that's most often used to describe the discipline is challenging. So, they need to be uplifted. They need some inspiration. So that definitely is a priority for 2025. Gosh, maybe part of my purpose for writing the book was just to get account management back on the radar. I would love to think that the account discipline is back in the conversation. I hate to use this word, but when you read through the trades, there is a void and in the voice of the account management discipline. And I would like to think that we will start to hear from more of them. So those are two things that are sort of top of mind for me.
Excellent. All right, please tell us what's your URL. Where can people find Cultivagency and what social media outlets are you using these days as well?
Okay, so I'm on LinkedIn. I do not have a Facebook page. I do not have an Instagram page. Maybe someday, although I'm not sure that I don't know. I think that between my website, which by the way is Cultivagency, it's Cultivagency, just like it sounds.com. I have a URL for the book. It's just theagencywithinus.com, and they both redirect to the same place so you can find information about how we engage with our clients, as well as how to buy the book on my website. And I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I think my decision to not try to do too much in too many channels was wise. As I mentioned, I came out with big dreams and aspirations, and have found that to be more and more challenging the longer I'm in it. So again, coming back to my partnership with your organization, I'm excited about having a partner to help me continue to have great ideas that are worthy of putting out there into the world, and not just filling space, but providing value. That's what I want. I mean, I could talk all day long about mumbo jumbo, but giving people something of value, I need a little help with that.
Well, hey, I repeat, we're excited to get started with you. We preach intentionality. If we can help you do what you want to do, you're empowering other people to prosper and grow their businesses and their relationships. So, it's an honor across the board. Lori Bartle of Cultivagency, thank you for spending some time with us on Business Ninjas. Continued success to you and yours. And I hope your book sells 1 million copies and people get together somewhere and talk about it.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate that. It was fun.
My pleasure. Be well.